Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the constant noise around you? What if I told you that the moments of silence we choose can be as powerful as our words? Today we'll explore the ancient wisdom of Stoicism and uncover 9 situations where silence holds immense power. Let's dive in. The art of silence, the power of silence. We live in a world where everyone is striving to make their voices heard, but sometimes choosing silence can be as powerful, if not more, than speaking out. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not necessary to speak, do not speak." Silence is not merely the absence of words, it is the presence of self-control. When we are silent, we create space to observe, to listen, to think, and to notice things that others overlook. In each moment of silence, we allow ourselves to connect more deeply with our inner self, observing our emotions without the need to react immediately. Marcus Aurelius also said, "You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you speak." Silence can become a powerful tool to uncover the hidden layers within ourselves. It is a moment to pause, reflect, and rebuild our inner strength. And in that silence, we learn to face ourselves more honestly than ever before. When we are silent, we are not only listening to others but also to ourselves. We feel each breath, each heartbeat, and every fleeting thought. It is in these quiet moments that we touch upon a sense of peace that often goes unnoticed amid the chaos of life. Silence is not just a tool to avoid unnecessary conflicts. It is also a gateway to the inner self, a place where the true answers lie, waiting for us to uncover. But why is silence so difficult? Because silence forces us to confront ourselves, unresolved thoughts, suppressed emotions, and deep-seated fears. Silence is not an escape from reality. It is a confrontation with reality. It is a moment to accept every feeling as it comes and goes without resistance or denial. In silence, we learn to make peace with uncertainty and to find stillness amidst the storms of life. Mastering emotions, lessons from Stoicism. In the modern world, our emotions are often easily provoked. From careless criticisms to heated arguments, everything seems to trigger our temper. But according to Stoicism, power does not lie in reacting, but in the ability to control our emotions. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, once said, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." This advice is not just about words, it is a profound lesson on emotional regulation. When we feel provoked, instead of reacting impulsively, pause and sit with the discomfort. Observe your emotions as if you were watching clouds pass by. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is the root of this anger? Zeno believed that instead of letting emotions dictate our actions, we should learn to detach and reflect. Rather than being swept away by the current of anger or fear, the Stoic mind stands firm like a mountain amidst a storm. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What disturbs you is not the event itself, but your perception of it." This powerful insight reminds us that emotions are not inherently negative. It is our interpretation of them that gives them power over us. Imagine anger as a fire. We can either fuel it with reactive thoughts or extinguish it with calm observation. In moments of tension, instead of allowing emotions to dictate our response, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this worth disturbing my inner peace? If the answer is no, then silence can become your most powerful weapon for maintaining self-control and inner tranquility. However, controlling emotions does not mean suppressing them. Stoicism teaches us that emotions are natural and necessary. The goal is not to become numb, but to cultivate the wisdom to choose our responses thoughtfully. Instead of reacting with words, try responding with silence. In the stillness, we find clarity, and in clarity, we find strength. Zeno's wisdom, the power of careful speech. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, believed that the tongue can be more dangerous than the feet. "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue," he said. This statement is a powerful reminder that words carry weight. Once spoken, they cannot be taken back. In a world where instant reactions are expected, Zeno's wisdom teaches us to pause before we speak. Words like arrows once released can wound deeply. But what if we paused? What if we chose silence over impulsive speech? Imagine holding a stone in your hand. It is heavy, it has weight. Every word we utter is like that stone. It can build or it can destroy. Zeno emphasized the power of reflection before speaking. He believed that silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of mindfulness. When we choose to hold our tongue, we give ourselves the space to process our thoughts and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Marcus Aurelius, too, echoed this sentiment. If you are tempted to speak, be silent. In that pause, we reclaim our power. We choose our words with intention, ensuring that they align with our values rather than our impulses. But the power of careful speech is not about suppressing words. It is about choosing them wisely. Words can heal, uplift, and inspire, or they can wound, criticize, and harm. The Stoics teach us that by mastering our speech, we master our lives. And sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. The silence of self-reflection, a path to inner growth. Silence is not just the absence of words. It is the gateway to profound self-reflection. In Stoicism, silence is a sacred space where we confront our own minds without distraction. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the power of solitude. Look within. Within is the fountain of good, he said. But why is self-reflection so crucial? In moments of silence, we peel back the layers of superficial thoughts to uncover the deeper truths buried beneath. The Stoics believed that through regular self-reflection, we can identify the root causes of our suffering, our fears, our attachments, our desires. It is in these quiet moments that we come face to face with our true selves, the parts we often avoid amid the noise of life. But self-reflection is not about judgment. It is about understanding. It is about observing our thoughts as they rise and fall like waves, without grasping or resisting them. Imagine the mind as a still pond. When the surface is calm, we can see clearly to the bottom. But when it is agitated, everything becomes distorted. In this silence, we learn to ask the essential questions. What am I holding on to? Why am I afraid? What am I resisting? These questions become our compass, guiding us toward deeper understanding and personal growth. And yet, the path of self-reflection is not easy. It requires courage to sit with our own minds, to confront uncomfortable truths, and to accept them without trying to change or escape them. But it is in these moments of silence that we plant the seeds of transformation, seeds that, over time, will blossom into wisdom, inner peace, and true clarity. The power of silence in controlling anger. A Stoic approach. Anger is a natural emotion, but in the eyes of the Stoics, it is a fire that can consume us if not controlled. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Instead of reacting to provocation, the Stoics teach us to use silence as a shield, a moment to breathe, reflect, and respond with clarity. When we are angry, our minds become clouded with emotion, and our words become sharp weapons. In those moments, silence is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful act of restraint. It is a pause that prevents us from saying things we might later regret. It is the space we give ourselves to cool down, to think clearly, and to act wisely. Seneca said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." This means that when we allow anger to dictate our actions, we lose control over ourselves. But by choosing silence, we regain that control. We transform our anger into a moment of self-reflection, asking ourselves, why am I truly angry? What am I defending? Silence also teaches us to recognize the impermanence of anger. Like a storm, anger passes, but the words we speak in anger can linger, causing wounds that take much longer to heal. In choosing silence, we choose to be the calm eye of the storm, remaining centered while chaos swirls around us. And in that silence, we cultivate patience, a virtue the Stoics held in the highest regard. Patience allows us to observe without reacting, to listen without interrupting, and to understand without judgment. Thus, silence becomes a practice of inner mastery, the mastery of our impulses, our words, and ultimately, ourselves. The quiet influence, how silence transforms relationships. Silence doesn't only transform our inner world, it transforms the way we connect with others. In a society that equates talking with authority and volume with confidence, the quiet presence of a calm listener can be revolutionary. The Stoics believe that relationships are not built through dominance, but through understanding. And silence is the first step toward understanding. When we remain silent during a conversation, especially in moments of tension, we signal something deeper, that we value listening over being right, connection over control. This kind of silence creates space for others to express themselves, for emotions to settle, for clarity to emerge. Marcus Aurelius emphasized this kind of leadership through presence. The best answer to anger is silence. In relationships, this silence is not indifference. It is attention. It says, I am here. I hear you. I don't need to fight you to understand you. In doing so, we invite trust, and in trust, relationships grow. Moreover, silence cultivates empathy. When we stop filling the air with our assumptions and responses, we begin to truly see the person in front of us. We become more attuned to body language, tone, and what lies beneath the surface. This deeper perception allows us to respond, not react, to choose compassion over criticism. In families, friendships, partnerships, the quiet moments often speak the loudest. A comforting hand on the shoulder, a pause before offering advice, a willingness to sit together in silence. These are the acts that say, you matter. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to be with you. And in that quiet companionship, transformation begins. In a world that glorifies noise, silence becomes a bold act, not of retreat, but of awakening. Through the lens of Stoicism, we realize that silence is not emptiness. It is depth. It is where we meet ourselves, sharpen our character, and show up with stillness instead of pressure. Every time we choose silence, we choose clarity over chaos. We reclaim control of our emotions, reconnect with others, and rise above fleeting impulses. In silence, we do not escape life. We embrace it with greater wholeness. So ask yourself, in your life, where could you listen more and speak less? What might happen if you paused just one moment longer? If this video brought you insight or a sense of peace, consider subscribing. Share it with someone who may need a moment of quiet strength today. And remember, profound transformation often begins with a single moment of silence.